Hey, fellow Schneider drivers. Friendly Bill coming at you. I'm in California. Coming off a 34-hour restart, so I am well rested, showered, and I'm going to have some food here in a bit. So I'm feeling pretty good today. This video is going to be about basically why I like OTR, over-the-road trucking. And I'm going to try to keep this short. But, okay, so I'm a retired graphic designer. I got into graphic design in 1994 when I graduated high school. I went to the University of Southern Illinois University. They had a 2-year program, associate's degree in graphic design. I knocked that out. I started working immediately for the university. As I was working for the university, I got my bachelor's degree in applied sciences. And so I started working immediately as a graphic designer, and I worked for a solid 20 years as a graphic designer. I worked for the university, I worked for Sears Roebuck, Home Depot, and I worked for the Air Force for 8 years. I had a lot of success as a graphic designer, but near the end, I just got burnt out. So I've already told this story, so I'm not going to go into it again. But anyway, why I like OTR. Okay, so I got my CDL, 3.5 years ago, and I got my tanker and my hazmat endorsements, and I started work for Schneider. So bang, I'm on the road. Okay, I like OTR because it's challenging. You don't go to the same places all the time, so it's not like a dedicated account where you're just going back and forth from the distribution center to a store, and you're just not going back and forth to the same place, which I would think would be boring. And in fact, at one point, they tried to change me over to Target dedicated, and I knew I wasn't going to like it. I did it for a week, and I was like, this is too boring. So I like the adventure aspect of OTR. You never know where you're going to be headed. Weather conditions can get crazy, so you never know, am I going to run into snow? You're going into different cities all the time, different customers. To me, there's sort of an adventure aspect. Now, as a kid, I was a kind of a kid that always wanted to go exploring. There was a creek in our backyard, and it was like a couple miles. It was, 20-mile long creek. Had woods on both sides, and I would go down there as a kid, as young as 6 years old, and explore. And when I wasn't doing that, I was on my bicycle, riding around the neighborhood, going miles and miles away from the house, just exploring the neighborhood and exploring on my bicycle. And that's sort of how I like to do things. I just like to explore, and I like to be mobile and stuff. So when I got my OTR license, or when I started doing OTR and I got my CDL license, I just love the unknown. Like you're heading into a city, whether it be Los Angeles or San Francisco or Sacramento or Phoenix or anywhere, and you're going to a part of the city you've never been to before, and you don't know what to expect, and you get to the customer and you've never been there before, and you don't know. It's all, to me, it's the adventure aspect of OTR, which I really like. And I'll continue to do this job until I don't want to do it anymore. I'm going to continue to do it until I don't want to. Some people get into trucking, and they get into trucking because they want to make so much money, or they get into trucking for all these reasons. I'm into trucking because I enjoy the adventure of driving the truck into new places and driving. I like driving. I wouldn't say I like driving in snow and stuff, but when it happens, it gives me a little bit of a rush. It's a little bit exciting. And driving into cities I've never been, like the first time I drove into New York City, I was nervous, excited, I had some anxiety, but it was exciting. Driving into New York for the first time was more exciting than anything that ever happened to me in my 20 years of graphic design. It was more exciting. So OTR for me is an exciting challenge, and that's why I like to do it. There are good days. and there are bad days. Okay, so it's not rainbows and unicorns. Okay, there are bad days, but those bad days, to me, it's still an adventure. Of course, you get frustrated. There's things that happen in the trucking industry that are frustrating, and I don't think there's any jobs in trucking that don't have their frustrations. But to me, driving like a dedicated account or something like that, I would get bored within a week. It's just there's no adventure, there's no challenge. I mean, that to me, that if I got stuck in something like that, I wouldn't be a truck driver very long. So I like OTR. I'm not a recruiter. Okay, I am not a recruiter. I've never told anyone ever that they should get into trucking. If someone asks me about it, I say, basically I say, if that's what you want to, if that's really what you want to do, then you should do it. Some of these guys on YouTube, they paint a pretty picture, and they're smiling, and they're basically like used car salesmen. They'll tell you whatever they think it takes to get you in a truck. Okay, I'm not a recruiter. I think that I think of it this way: would I want my daughter or son to grow up and drive a truck professionally? And the answer to that question is no. In fact, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen. So if you're not willing to have your son or daughter be a part of an industry, why would you be pushing people you don't know into the industry? And that's just my point of view. I'm not a big fan of recruiters at all. I think it's kind of a dirty trick to lie, basically. There's a lot of lying going on in the recruiting world. So I'm not a recruiter. I'm not a coach either. Everything I say and all of these things that I talk about are my opinion and my situation. Trucking works for me because I get bored easily. If the job isn't challenging, or if I'm doing something that's repetitive over and over and over again, I get bored. I get bored quickly. And trucking, to me, I've been doing this for 3 years and 4 months. It's not boring. And so that, for me, is probably the biggest selling point for this job for me. So, yeah, I love OTR. I may get into tanker just as a learning experience, but I know tankers do a lot of sitting, which I don't like to sit. So, I'll continue as a Schneider driver. I have over 3 years experience. My record's really good. I could work anywhere. I do kind of look a little bit here and there. But Schneider treats me okay. If they start to treat me like crap, I'll leave. And I could go anywhere I want, basically. So that being said, OTR is pretty cool for me. I hope you enjoyed the job that you're doing. If you don't enjoy the job you're doing, you should really do something else, because the economy right now, it's the lowest unemployment in a 60-year history. There's jobs out there. And if it's a money thing, as a truck driver, I work 70 hours a week minimum. If I worked 70 hours doing any other job, I'd make the same amount of money. I mean, you could work at McDonald's working 70 hours, you're going to make pretty decent money. If you work 80 hours, that's 2 full-time jobs. If you work 2 full-time jobs, you're going to make outstanding money. So trucking, is it the money's really there as a company driver? It's okay, but you should do something that you like. You really should. And I like OTR for now. Like I said, I still have my portfolio. I could go back to work as a graphic designer anytime. But right now I like OTR, and I do like the job. So that being said, Friendly Bill, catch you on the flip side.